What's good? Brian Tong here, and welcome to the Apple Byte for everything good and bad inside the world of Apple. Let's get to the show, and there's more news about iOS 8 from 9 to 5 Mac, with a new report showing off recreations of screenshots from Apple's new Healthbook app. That is the next area they're hoping to reinvent in iOS 8. Now, it takes cues from Apple's Passbook app, and the internal versions of Healthbook are able to track several different health and fitness data points like heart rate, hydration, blood sugar, sleep, respiratory rate, and others that can be arranged by the user. Now, when you look at these mockups, it just can't be a phone that gathers all this data. Thanks to the M7 chip, steps, miles walked, and caloric data can be tracked by the phone, but things like blood, hydration, and respiratory stuff has to come from another source, like a wearable device. Not that one. Yeah, something more like this. Alright, 9 to 5 Mac also reports more possible iOS 8 tweaks, including a change to the notification center to only include today's events and the notifications view, because honestly, how many of you actually even look at all three tabs? Better inter-app communication, yes, that's actually a word now, where apps can share data like a third-party photo editing app, being able to push content more easily through Facebook or Instagram. There's also the potential that the Messages app will auto-delete a message thread after a month or a year so that it frees up more storage space, and you wouldn't believe how useful that could be. Their sources also say Game Center could just go away and be found inside the actual games using the service, and CarPlay, which will initially only work over a lightning cable in iOS 7, is testing versions in iOS 8 that will work over Wi-Fi. Now, sometimes what is old is new again because every fad comes back, right? Well, except for scrunchies. But Apple recently reintroduced the 4th gen iPad with only a 16GB model for $399, replacing the aging iPad 2 in a move they should have done when the iPad Air was announced. But really, the most pathetic part, Apple's press release describing it as their most affordable 9.7-inch iPad with improved cameras and enhanced performance over the iPad 2. Duh. And that's a bad Apple. But better late than never, I guess. And in another lame duck move, Apple brings their least popular phone, the iPhone 5C, with an even smaller capacity of 8 gigs to only 5 markets, including the UK, France, Germany, Australia, and China. And it still costs about $712 while the 16GB model costs $779. Now, I'm not going to say anything because some of you Apple biters are really sensitive when I keep it real, talking about the big A. So I'm not going to say a thing. Except for bad Apple. Sorry, guys. Couldn't help it. And if you do anything this year, do not buy an 8GB iPhone 5C. But before we go, let's reflect on the iPad we lost today. Microsoft making a cameo on the Apple Byte this week. The long-rumored Microsoft Office will officially launch for the iPad on March the 27th, according to The Verge. Microsoft launched a version for the iPhone last year that requires an Office 365 subscription, and the iPad version will require the same thing. And you know what? You can always trust someone on Twitter to post an alleged screenshot of the software as well. And Microsoft also recently released its free digital notebook app called OneNote on the Mac App Store that can share info between platforms and their iOS version of the app as well. Now, the app also allows for collaboration like sharing notebooks and real-time editing. Okay, guys, a lot of you have been asking me lately, what does Apple's product release cycle look like this year? You want to buy something, but you're not sure, so I figured it would be a good time to kind of give you a little breakdown of what we foresee. Now, this is not a guarantee at all, but based on past trends and what we know today. So my first hunch, based on reports, Apple's first new product release in 2014 should be their Apple TV sometime in April, not March, but April. And it looks like it will definitely be their set-top box and not a TV. Well then, my gut tells me they'll use WWDC in June to set up the announcement of iOS 8 and the new iPhone 6 along with the iWatch, or the iWatch will have its own event shortly after that. Now, the reason being is that iOS 8 is going to have a lot of data hooks with some kind of wearable that we talked about earlier, and they can't just talk about it and then ignore that wearable. The other factor is that this iWatch-a-majigger thing is also going to be dependent on the phone to exchange data, so the timing of all these announcements for all three will be relatively close together within a month of each other, but the actual launch dates will be separate, to extend the hype. Now, rumors say Pegatron is starting iPhone 6 production earlier than normal, so I'm leaning towards an earlier iPhone 6 launch this year, with the iWatch to follow shortly after it. Also, MacBook refreshes, you guys ask about that, typically happen right before the back-to-school season around the July timeframe, even though they were late in 2013, and I'm leaning also towards iMac's performance upgrades in September. Now, iPads finally came out in late October, right before the holidays in 2013, so expect that to be its time slot for the foreseeable future. And again, you guys, this is just a rough prediction. If I'm wrong, please remind me at the end of the year, and I'll let you do my job. All right, let's get to our giveaway. Thanks to my friends at Design by Humans and their Kick Butt t-shirts. We're giving away 5 shirts to you, the Apple Biters. All you guys have to do is tell us how many bad apples were in last week's show. It's just that easy. And email me at theapplebite@cnet.com or tweet me at Brian Tong, and I will pick 5 of the luckiest people in the whole wide world next week. Plus, we're also doing a special promo code. Just punch in AppleBite5 off to get $5 off any shirt on their website, and it's good through April the 4th. All right, that's going to do it for this week's show. I'm Brian Tong. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time for another Bite of the Apple.